I've been a graphic designer for the last 8 years, but if I had to start over, this is exactly what I would do. Hey everyone, my name is Megan. If you have not been here before, thank you so much for being here. So I figured it was time to make a new video on my tips of what I would do to become a graphic designer in 2024. I know that with our fast-paced world and all the social media and all the things that we see in our everyday lives, it can be really easy to think that you can get that overnight or in a month, or even if you just dedicate and stay consistent for a week. I think a lot of us feel that we should see some sort of success or result from that. But the reality is it takes a lot of time. When I look back at when I first started to get into graphic design, which was in like 2016, which sounds so long ago now. But when I first started to get into that, I had so much passion around the creativity of graphic design, and I didn't even really know what it could turn into, but I was so fascinated with brands and walking into grocery stores and makeup stores and just seeing the amount of beautiful brands that really capture people's attention and why it does that and the psychology behind it and the art behind it. It really fascinated me. So that's what sparked my passion to really get started into learning how to do graphic design and provide it to clients and actually offer that as a service. In our current world, in our situation now with social media at our fingertips and kind of feeling that overwhelm of all the content and education and everything out there, these are my tips of what I would do to avoid the overwhelm and also to get started as a graphic designer. So number one is online courses. It's no secret that there's so many amazing creators online and influencers online that have now got into education. I am definitely one of those. I love teaching. I love creating courses and sharing the knowledge that I've learned. And I do feel that it's a really, really helpful resource, especially for new designers now, because online learning is so widely accepted and it's such a prominent thing in our world that you can find it anywhere. Anything you want to learn about is most likely online. Now, with that, there's a lot of overwhelm that can come with it. So what I would recommend is to pick 2 to 3 designers or 2 to 3 educators that you really are inspired by and that you look up to and learn from them. But the biggest mindset trick when taking these courses is to take bits and pieces of what these educators are teaching and pave your own path. I've seen so many amazing designers consume so many courses, which I know a lot of them will consider themselves like course junkies, and it's amazing to learn and grow and to really absorb all that information and learn from professionals. But at the end of the day, design and art is so subjective to you, and also there's so many ways to offer design and have a process with clients and to truly have your own specific unique offer and taste and art and everything. So what I would recommend is to have those 2 to 3 artists that you want to learn from, but just pick and choose those things that you like in their process or that you are inspired by, and think of ways that you can kind of add your own twist to it and practice on your own using those different tips and tactics that you learned, while also keeping in mind that there's a million ways to do it and there's no right or wrong way, and you can really kind of discover that on your own. So I really wanted to mention this one first because although I'm a huge advocate of learning online and constantly learning, even if you are in really seasoned designer and you have a lot of amazing clients right now, it's still really important to learn and grow. Right now, I'm actually about to take a Figma course so I can learn more about that. There's always new platforms, new softwares, new services. So really focus on the basics of design and those softwares you want to learn, and then really form your own process and pave your road from those courses. But do not get overwhelmed and do not take a million courses, or else you're really going to overwhelm yourself. So I'd recommend just having those handfuls of designers and creatives and business owners that you really feel that you can learn from, and not feel like you're comparing yourself to them and that you're actually growing alongside them. Now, in addition to online courses, the second thing that I'd recommend doing is to actually start practicing through passion projects. This is something that I wish I had mentioned in my last video that I just uploaded, which was all about finding your unique style, but passion projects are huge for that. And when I first started, I remember I didn't really know what I truly liked yet with design. I wasn't sure if I liked doing logos or websites or package design or, the random design things that are out there. I did not know what my skill set was in yet, and I didn't really know what I wanted to offer yet. So to discover that, I actually practiced doing passion projects. Passion projects are just finding brands or offers or services or even products out in the wild and something that you are just so inspired by that you'd want to practice on your own. That is considered a passion project, something that you feel so drawn and excited to create and that you do on your own time for no money at all, just for practice and to really get in touch with your style and also to get in touch with your unique offer. And that's so important to do when you're discovering how to become a graphic designer and what it is that you're going to do that's different than other designers. It's so important to practice. So I'd recommend finding those passion projects and really diving into that. And you can also use these on your portfolio. So if you do create some passion projects that you're so proud of, which is awesome, don't be afraid to share that. And that brings me into my next tip, which is social media. When I started design, and not just when I first started, this was more so when I was like a couple years into design and I actually started to really see my style and I knew what I wanted to offer and I was getting more confident and comfortable with it. I started to post on social media, and at the time I really only posted on Instagram and occasionally YouTube, but I had no consistent schedule with it. I really just posted when I could because I did have a 9-to-5 job and I was balancing a lot of things, but I just felt that it was time for me to start putting myself out there because I did see the potential for freelance clients and working, a side job on top of my 9-to-5. So I would recommend, if you want to be a designer in today's world, that you kind of have to get on social media. I know that it's one of those things that a lot of us don't love or we feel a little overwhelmed by, but the reality is it's the tool and the keys to connecting with so many amazing clients and also to put yourself out there. And it does require stepping out of your comfort zone, but it can turn into so many amazing opportunities. So if you are starting out and you're a little overwhelmed on which platform to start with, I do recommend diversifying yourself and not sticking to just one social media platform like Instagram. I would suggest you try Instagram, try TikTok, try YouTube, try Pinterest, try all the things. And I know it could be a lot of work at first, but you can kind of start to see which ones you can stay the most consistent with and maybe which ones that you're getting the most engagement on and the most feedback on, and really pick the one that you feel the most excited to stay consistent with, because that will allow you to actually stick with it. If you actually dread what you're doing, it's going to be really hard to stick with it and you might feel really down on yourself if you don't keep up with something that you told yourself to do. So find the platform that you're loving, that you feel excited about, and I would recommend getting on more than one just in case, because as we've heard, TikTok might go away. Who knows what can happen in the future? So I would recommend getting on more than one and sharing your work. I would experiment with different post types, different content types, whether that's sharing your work or sharing your personality, maybe doing a mix of those, and just discovering what it is that is attracting people to your page, and also discovering what you enjoy doing. This is your time to experiment and have fun with it, and to really just dive into the opportunities that social media can offer. So I'd recommend doing that as soon as you can and as soon as you feel really excited and comfortable enough to start posting that work. And you can post those passion projects, you can post those things that you're practicing with, and take people along the journey. I know that this is something that can be a little bit confusing because I think a lot of people show the end result of where they've ended up or how they've succeeded, but a lot of people love to see the starting point. Think about those transformation videos that you watch that are so inspiring. So show the starting point and take people along your journey to grow. That's what I would do if I was starting out, and I think that can really allow you to connect with so many amazing clients and also amazing designers to form your own community. Okay, the next thing that I would do if I was just starting out is to reach out to designers that you really are inspired by and that you love their work and that you really want to learn from them. And even if the designer is not willing to take on a assistant or take on another designer. You can actually really watch their content, look at their designs, study the designs, and sort of mimic them. I'm not saying to copy, but I feel like if you practice by taking what they've done and trying to make it yourself, it can be a really great start to practicing and learning how to create that specific style. So I would recommend finding those designers that you're inspired by, mimicking those designs, and then also studying it to a point where you know how to add your own twist and your own touch to it, whether that is the elements that you draw or maybe the fonts that you do. Maybe you do custom typography. Maybe that's something that you would find a passion in. Just find the little things that will make you that unique designer. But also, I do think it's totally okay when you're starting out to look at designs that you really love and try to make them yourself, because that's the best way to start, the best way to learn the softwares and the programs, and can really give you a good kickstart into the graphic design world. I mentioned this one because when I worked at the agency that I worked at for literally 6 months because I kind of hated it, but when I first started working there, I was thrown into recreating and mimicking the designs from the past, and it was the best way for me to actually learn how to use InDesign and Illustrator, because they would have me open the file within Illustrator and just have to recreate it and make it my own and make a new advertisement or whatever it was. So I do think it's a great way to learn and a great way to start. So if you can find some Illustrator practice files online, or just start with a blank artboard and do not judge yourself too hard and just go for it, can be the greatest way to learn. And that is when you can start to kind of use those courses that you're taking on the basics of the softwares and design to practice and become such an amazing designer. So another thing that I would do if I was starting out, and this is something that I really wish I did in the beginning stages of my design journey, and I sort of mentioned this in the social media one on taking people through your story, but the biggest thing to do is to remember your origin story. Origin stories are the best way to relate your journey, your story, your designs to your audience. An origin story, everyone has one. I feel like if we all reflect on what got us started in design, or what got us, interested in the creative world or art in general, there's always an interesting story behind that, or even just a story of how you got to the place you are now. So something I wish I did was keep track of that journey, and also, whether that's journaling or YouTube has been such a great thing for me to reflect on and see how far I've come, and also pull clips from that to use in YouTube videos to show people that it took hard work and it took years to get to a point where I'm able to work for myself. So keep track of that origin story. Now, in addition to the social media content and showing your journey, this was another thing I wanted to mention that I wish I had done when I first started out, is to really pay attention to your origin story. One of the most difficult things that I face now, because I've been designing for 8 years, it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of a brand new designer. And the only way that I'm able to do that is when I reflect on my origin story. So if you are just starting out, be proud of the place you're in now, make content around it, journal about it, write about it, whatever it is you have to do to remember where you've started to where you're going to end up, and all the things that you're going to go through to get to where you are. That is going to be millions and thousands of pieces of content for you to share throughout your journey to becoming a graphic designer. So if I was starting out again, I would see, and I would hope that if you are watching this and you're brand new, then this is my message to you, to notice how all the content that you consume on social media and everywhere on YouTube, on all the things that you're looking at, most of the time, all of those pieces of content are telling a story. So keep that in mind and keep track of your story and be proud of that. Be proud of the failures you're going to go through, the successes you're going to go through, and write them down and don't forget them, because they're going to come so in handy in the years to come and even the months to come. Everyone grows and learns at different paces, so keep track of that, and I promise you it's going to come in handy. And my one last tip for social media, if I was talking to a brand new designer and they are like, I am so overwhelmed with all the things online, seeing where everyone's at where I want to be, and I'm getting in my head and the imposter syndrome's kicking in, I would stop them right there and I would be like, repeat after me. create before consuming, because I have this rule with myself where if I am scrolling and I catch myself scrolling, I immediately go to my drafts folder of my TikToks or my reels or even just like a post idea I had, and I create. I catch myself in the consumption tunnel, the little like, I feel like we can get on tunnel vision when we're consuming, but I always try to create before I consume and make sure that I'm reminding myself that if I am online, most likely a bunch of other people are also online consuming. So use that to your advantage and create content and post about your designs, about your offers, and do that before consuming, because you're going to feel better about actually scrolling after you post. But if you keep on scrolling without posting, it's going to just lead to so much imposter syndrome and questioning what you're posting, questioning what you're creating. So always create before consume. I was also just thinking about the things that I did when I first started out in graphic design and the things that I would do again and again and again. And one of those is that I was not afraid if I was working somewhere where I wasn't technically a graphic designer. I was not afraid to ask those companies or to put myself out there in those situations where I could actually practice design and potentially shadow someone that was the designer. So when I worked at the agency, which was such a great opportunity, even though it was only like a year of working there, because they did go under, which I have a whole video on my story to becoming a graphic designer, which I'll put right above here. But the thing that really helped me grow and learn and become a designer was I asked if I could create the flyers and the logos, and they would have a designer come in, and I was able to actually watch her create these logos on Adobe Illustrator, which now thinking about it, if I had someone staring at me create, I would be like so nervous. But it helps so much to watch a professional create a logo and see the kind of the thought process behind it. Like, I can still remember watching her create this logo and manipulating the typography, and it was so eye-opening to me that there's so much flexibility and creativity that can be made through an Adobe Illustrator software. So I was really my eyes were open to the opportunities within this world, and also it gave me such a great opportunity to practice and shadow a professional. So if you are, let's say you're working at like a coffee shop or I don't know, a pizza place or something, because I actually did this too, where I noticed that the menu at the restaurant and the company wasn't very good. So I asked if I could take a shot at redesigning it. And that also allowed me to practice and really see how I can take something and transform it. So don't be afraid to test with actual real clients and brands that are out there and see if you can shadow the designers that these companies are already using, because that's going to help you grow and learn so much more. And there's something about learning in person with someone and shadowing and sitting there and looking at the computer together, or taking a real life thing in person and practicing on your own. There's something so special about that and different. At least for me, I feel like I learn better doing that than just sitting and listening to someone tell me how to do it through a screen. So if you are taking a course, take what you've learned there, but also use those real life situations and practice on your own and see if you can shadow someone. But those situations of practicing how to design a menu or creating a logo or creating a flyer was so helpful for me to learn how to make a design look really beautiful. And it's so funny because I look back at those designs now and they were definitely beginner designs, but it's so cool to see like the transformation of how I was able to learn how to do that and start to offer that and practice every single day to make it even better. Okay, so I wasn't going to talk about this one, but I know that this is going to be a question that people have on this video when it comes to how to become a graphic designer in 2024. And that is this even a good career or path to go down because of AI and all the technology nowadays? And yes, without a doubt, yes, I have asked myself this question, like, what is graphic design going to look like in the next 5 years? But I have tried tons of AI tools, and I think it's a really powerful and helpful tool to use in addition to an actual human artist and human designer. But I do not think AI is anywhere close to being ready to take over an actual human designer. Like I said, I've tried so many, and a lot of them just don't produce results that are actually like unique and interesting and have that perspective on the world that us humans do. So I do think that graphic design is still a great career to go down. And I've seen with my own eyes, my own students that start even just last year and have already succeeded with tons of clients. So it's definitely in demand still. And I think that a lot of the new businesses starting still want to work with actual human designers that know the best way and the best process to give them a complete brand identity in website design without having to go through technology. I think a lot of us still have those roadblocks and the questioning on whether it's still like a legitimate design or thing that we can use. And I do think we have a lot more time and a lot more learning to do with that. And I honestly think that even in 5 years, it's going to be really powerful, but I think it's only going to be like a great tool in addition to using a actual human. So I do use AI occasionally, like ChatGPT will help me sometimes if I'm stuck on things, or will give me some nice ideas for content. And I'm not afraid to use like ChatGPT or AI to help me generate ideas if I'm really stuck. But like I said, I still have to use my own human perspective and my own experience to create a design that is actually really unique and actually strategic enough for that specific client. So those are the things that I would do if I had to start all over tomorrow. It's such an exciting journey, like to think about all the new designers that are now starting and learning and putting themselves out there. I just love to see it, and I think that there's so much success to be had in this industry. And yes, there's tons of designers out there already, but every single designer has their own unique perspective on the world. So think about that origin story of yours and think about your journey and really focus on that, and think of ways that you can really show that through your personal brand and through your style in graphic design. And I'm just so excited for you. It's such a fun career, and I love it every single day. I'm so passionate about it, and I want the same for you all as well. So excited for you, but I hope that this video is helpful to kind of get you started, or maybe you're questioning where to begin. I really hope this was helpful. Let me know if it was by hitting the subscribe button down below. That would mean the world to me. And also give this video a thumbs up, or comment what you found helpful or what you are doing now to learn graphic design. I'd love to hear, and I'm sure that you guys have some amazing tips as well. But if you want to watch the rest of this mini series, then be sure to check this video out right here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in my next video.